Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault. And you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not
You will bring the jury.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
Alex stole it as well.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're doing commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican for his service Latino.
That's literally not true.
I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
Is that correct?
Oh, for Trump's sake.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Hello. I am the Recovery Addict. I try to say that different every morning. I think I've run out of ways to say it. the inflection, the tone, the speed, the spacing. I've used every option. Hope y'all are doing great today. It is wonderful to be here. We are in closing arguments in the Tennessee versus Blaise Taylor trial. And I am the Recovery Addict. There you go. Let me turn that on the screen so you can see chat. Hold, please. There we go. All right, welcome. Big welcome especially goes to Kim R. Kim was first in chat today. Kim, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your promptness and punctuality. We're going to punish you appropriately because of that. Everything IP related worldwide is your responsibility. Again, does RA keep birthday forms from year to year? I have a confession, charitable lady. I have a confession. I have never opened the birthday form. I don't even know where it is. I kid you not. I have. If it weren't for the mods, there would be no birthdays. I don't know how to open it. I just work here. I'm like Ron Burgundy on the Anchorman. You know, you put the script in front of me and I say it. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Are you ready for another field trip? No, we cannot do a field trip today. I have no cars. One is in Raleigh. The other one's in Greenville. So we, if there's a field trip, I'm lugging everything on my back. No, one of the cars has my Starlink. Never mind. No field trip today. Please hold all your breaking news in the area till tomorrow as a bare minimum. Bare minimum. Basically, we just tell you what to do. Yeah, it's below my pay grade. Well, don't think so. All right, it is wonderful to have you all here. This is a day we've been waiting for quite a while because
Mike. What day is it, Mike? Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Hump day! Welcome to Wednesday. That was terrible. I apologize. Oh, and I'm lightheaded too. That was really bad. It's Wednesday. We made it halfway through the work week. All downhill from here. Last week was great. Can we just ride on the wave of success that last week's Hump Day Yell, gave us? There's no redos. It's just you're voted off the island. That's how it works. I'll try it next week. I'll try again next week. Nothing tops last week. The problem is, every time I'd have a really good one, it sets the bar that much higher, and eventually it's just I'm doomed to fail. You know, I have one good day that was just completely out of the norm for me, and from then on it's just failure. Let's see. Can we have chat on screen? I thought I was going to do that. There we go. Why is it going back off? That was weird. Huh. Kim, did you see yourself? Did you see yourself on briefly? No, maybe. All right, we do have birthdays. Thank you, Lois, for that, by the way. Let's see. I think we By we have birthdays, I mean I don't have birthdays. The mods might have a birthday list for me. So we'll check and see that. I can watch other channels without buffering, but your channel does. Love true crimes. Probably because of how we do things. And I can explain that really quickly. This channel is very much involved in back and forth. Like as soon as you put that up, I'm talking about it, right? It wasn't like you send a super chat and 3 minutes later it gets mentioned or might pop up on the screen.
Happy birthday. You look good.
We live stream with about a 2-second delay. Which has puts a lot of burden on YouTube, and when YouTube is having trouble to handle the 500 hours of video that are uploaded every minute, then it struggles that way. If you are willing to pause your live stream for a couple seconds, then play again, usually that fixes it. You'll be like 3 seconds behind the live where you could be, but usually that's enough time for YouTube servers to get things sorted out. And do we stream in 4K? We don't often. I have the capability to, but we don't often. The reason why is, well, this is a 4K camera, that's a 4K camera. But court is usually in 720 or 1080 at max. So if we make my image so crystal clear in the bottom corner that that you can see the split ends on my hair, then when court comes on, they're like, "Why is court so blurry?" We have to sort of balance it out a little bit. But I could probably do a couple things to fix the. Let's see. Let me check the stream. Pause for a second. Ready? Let's do this. We're going to say there's going to be a spinning wheel. Don't go anywhere. It'll come back. Just wait. Okay? Do you hear me? Everyone nod? Yes? Okay. Spinning wheel for just a second. All right. All right. We're back. We're back. Let me know if this fixes it a little bit. I've basically told YouTube to not reserve as much. This isn't a very good explanation, but not reserve as much processing power for my feed because I'm not going to be using it all. So, if that's any better, I can change this setting. All right.
Happy birthday! You look good.
Speaking of trial today, before we go to trial and before we check out, before they get started today, I do want to say tonight I'm going to be on with Josh Ritter at Courtroom Confidential talking about this trial, and whatever happens today will probably be a main part of that conversation. So, just refresh. YouTube has. Yeah, if you can hear me, tell everyone else to refresh their menu and it will fix. Exit to come back, sound came back. There it is. YouTube, it's working for some, but not for all. It's a YouTube thing. So, all right. Anyway, we're gonna be on tonight with Josh Ritter on Courtroom Confidential. So I'm wearing my Courtroom Confidential shirt. You can't tell because it looks. Well, it's there. It's there in white. It's there in white. So, yes, you missed the hump day. Had no sound of the spinning wheel, but I just left and came back. Now it's fine. All right. It's his first day. Please be paid today, Regina. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Are there birthdays? There we go. Georgia fan. Appreciate it. Do you want to be known as Georgia fan, Josh? Or I don't know. I mean, we can change you around. We can call you that. We have a couple birthdays to celebrate, and then we're going to get going. It's let's see, Hari, Gene, Northwest, Todd, and Todd Big Tall Man. Are these two different Todds? Because this Todd might be like vertically challenged, and this Todd not. I guess it's two different ones. And it's Canada's birthday. Oh, Canada, my home and native land. No, we're not going to sing that one today. We're going to sing Happy Birthday, the regular one. So everyone, join with me. We'll celebrate these birthdays when we're going to kick off Court Watch. Happy birthday, wherever you are, wherever you are, stand up, take a breath, shoulders back, project your voice to the back of the room, blend your voice with your neighbor, and warm up with me, if you will. La 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 la. There we go. We're ready. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ari, G, Northwest Todd, and Todd Big Tall Man. Happy birthday to you. I'm guessing Todd Big Tall Man didn't name himself Todd Big Tall Man. I'm guessing that was a nickname somebody else gave him. But to whoever is celebrating the birthday today, even if your name is Todd or Todd Big Tall Man, happy birthday. We realize there are a million places you could be and a billion people you could have celebrated with, but you chose to be here with us. The privilege, pleasure, the honor, the joy, that is ours. Hopefully we can turn that joy right back to you, make your day just a little more special, or begin by helping yourself to free pancakes at Denny's, IHOP Village Inn, Waffle House, McDonald's, Tammy Dunlop's House, Andy's Grill, Bob Evans, Cracker Barrel, and any other place. I think Cracker Barrel was the last one. I should have said and Cracker Barrel. Sophie, happy birthday to your to your son. Happy birthday to your son. I thought it was your second son's birthday, but I read that wrong. Watch your head at the app entrance, Big Todd. Yeah, you have to duck and turn sideways, but you'll get right through. Happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating. Just call me Josh, not Georgia fan too, because you're going to say Josh anyway. I've been here forever. OG. Happy birthday to son. Bjorn, happy birthday. Your mom's awesome. Be good. There you go. Bjorn, I made you a special cake. Your mom has it for you. Sorry, Sophie. I hope you have that. So, happy birthday there. All right. Got a few things. Loves True Crimes gifted 5 memberships this morning. Thank you very much. And Loves True Crimes also told us we had some buffering issue. Hopefully this fixes it. Oh, we have a drum solo going on right now. Let's do that. Ready? Beautiful. All right. Let's see. Let me know if the buffering is fixed. Let me know, because that's a setting I can change on my side. As long as we're not streaming in 4K.
Happy birthday. You look good.
I'm basically telling YouTube to use as much processing power as 4K would take, and I'm not sending it 4K. So I guess it shouldn't harm anything in the image. You shouldn't be able to notice a difference. Limeri's Galoza. Limeri's Lil Mary's Galoza. Hey, 886, thank you very much for the gifted membership. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. I'm trying, and I'm failing miserably. Blue Star member for 10 months. Thank you very much. Blue Star, good to have you here. I'm assuming we're not streaming Friday since the 4th, and we'll be observed. Right, we're probably not going to be here in court on Friday. We are watching at the same time as this is going on. We're watching Judge Dad's court, which is over here, by the way.
I'll take care of the fines, 135, and you're all set. Best of luck to you, sir. Thank you.
We're watching that one. Sorry, we're watching that one because, could you see that? I'm not sure if you could see it. This one.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because Mr. Boyd's supposed to make an appearance. Mr. Boyd is his last chance. We do want to see what's happening with him. We've been following that little case for a while. Buffering issue is fairly new. Never used to have an issue. I think it's a YouTube thing. They've been changing some stuff. Why is my trash pickup being moved from Friday the 3rd to Saturday the 4th in observance of the holiday being observed on the 3rd out of the 4th? Explain that. I don't know, but the trash guys should get overtime pay if they're picking up on the 4th. Plus all that garbage with firecrackers and stuff in it. AC's Wildflower gifted a membership. Thank you very much. So we need to celebrate my birthday tomorrow. Josh, we will. We will tomorrow for sure. Greeners, tell me why my town just doesn't pick up recycling anymore. It's been 3 weeks since they picked up our recycling. And I'm sorry, but my family goes through a lot of pizza boxes. And the recycling is full. It's full. We can't take any more. I gifted a membership because I strayed to other channels, and this is better, way better, and everyone should be green. Hazy's Wildflower. Basically, that's forgive me, RA, for I have sinned. I have visited other channels when you were live streaming. Please accept this penance. No, Hazy's, the internet is big. It's a big place. I hope you don't only come here because I love that you love it here, and we love to have you here. But there's lots of amazing people on the internet, especially in the world of true crime. More especially in the content creator side. There are some good people out there accused of crimes as well, but we're not going to talk about them today. It's okay to have other channels you watch. I'm not offended in the slightest. Now, if you were to come in here and start asking everyone to go watch somewhere else, I might let you sit in the corner with the tall hat on for a little while, but we'd give you a hug and welcome you back afterwards. Let's see. Chris Wallace, member for 36 months. Good morning from the OG. I think OG. Chris, thank you very much. Here's better. All others are great, but here's better. Love it. I love it. YouTube adultery should be a crime, right? Nexus Lexus should be a crime in all jurisdictions. Greener says, I got punished for advertising Top Mark Media in here the other day. Yeah, those guys are terrible. That's my channel, Greeners. I only cheat on your court hopping days. You're not a fan of court hopping. Not everyone is. Not everyone is. I'm not a fan of courts having breaks in their schedule. So maybe we could work together and solve that issue. Where we are today in the Blaise Taylor trial, let me get you caught up. Everyone's rested. We have had the state's case in chief. We have the defense put forward a case. Then we have the state rebuttal. And now we're to closings. The judge is going to give each side an hour this morning, as well as jury instructions. That's going to happen today. And then the jury will start deliberating. The judge was really worried, even talked about it live on the stream, I think yesterday before we broke, that this was going to go through the July 4th holiday. And he didn't want that to happen. He's like, what do we do about that? So it looks like now it's not going to. So big news story here in STL, St. Louis. A 10-year-old shot his infant sister in the head. Oh, my goodness. They're charging him with murder. As an adult? Wow, 10 years old. First of all, that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Ivan, rainy morning in the campground, Irish coffee, and time to watch Ari. Ivan, it's working. The super chats are working today. Thank you very much. Hope the rain passes. It's been crazy weather. Okay, just by a show of hands, if you're here in the United States, and I realize we've got some people overseas that could probably raise their hands to this as well, but if you're here in the United States, in the last 7 days, if you've had a temperature swing of over 20 degrees, and also had a significant weather event, just raise your hand. I'm sorry, Hawaii, volcanoes don't count. You can't claim that one. Earthquakes don't count. You can't claim that one. I'm talking about just the weather. Like, for those of you, I know there's some places that got snow this last week. A whole bunch of people had tornadoes. We've had floods. We've had heat wave. I'm not excited for because I have to do some work on my upstairs AC again. That's not exciting at all. Does everyone have cocoa ethylene in the center space of your bingo cards? Yeah, that was the freebie. The freebie, for sure, on this trial. Feel judge is rushing a verdict. We did a little digging, Schmoopy, on this judge, and he doesn't seem to have a published reversal rate, but he also is not known for his cases, being overturned. So I don't know. It's maybe the appellate court just likes him. Let's see. What about a significant drought? 1,000 degrees here. I'm here on the sun. Let's see. Temp swing, no significant event. Don King's like me. Let's see. It's 100 in Lower Michigan. We're supposed to. I saw like 111 on the calendar. Super T smoke free for 216 days. That is awesome. Congratulations, Super T. I bet you feel great. I bet that is just. That like you're noticing a difference in energy and probably in your wallet as well, which is bonus. Bonus. That is really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Congratulations. Let's see. Humidity is out of control in Indiana. 90s with 100% humidity. Stepped outside of Minnesota and my hair puffed into a ball. I'm sorry. I wasn't laughing at you. I thought of something funny right after I read that. It was unrelated. Let's see. Oh, Josh, I sent this to Thomas to have it on the podcast. We might still mention this story. We'll tease it a little bit right now while we're waiting for court. In Georgia, a guy kills his girlfriend, which is sad. But we're big kids. We talk about murder all the time. It's okay. And then in an effort to hide her body, like while he's like dragging the body somewhere, he has a heart attack and dies in the act of hiding the body. Like karma come quickly. That was fast. So I guess the unwritten joke there is talk to your doctor to see if you're healthy enough for crime. But think twice. Think twice. It's hard work. A lot of people think I'll just this is the easy way out. I'll fix the problem, get rid of the person, and I'll be all better. No. It takes more than 4 hours to bury the body. Seek professional help. Let's see. There's all sorts of jokes that can be written about that. I'm sorry. All right, we'll just let that one slide. Save the state some money. It did. It's tragic. I mean, it would have been nicer had he had the heart attack before he killed them. It was like, just the excitement or of the event that drove him to kill her. Maybe that could have happened first, and then she'd still be with us. That would be the best way out. Of course, it had to happen within an hour. Josh, you have some crazy stuff going on in Georgia. I mean, I've been trying to lay low and not point the finger at Georgia a little bit. Everyone's talking about this now, right? This is the meme. But Georgia, we're looking at you. We're looking at you because you got some things happening in Georgia, which I'm banished from.
You are banished from the state of Georgia.
I am. It's true. Don't commit a crime due to poor health. You know what I'm excited about? I can basically, I now have an extra defense. If I'm accused of anything, I can be like, Judge, it wasn't me. Clearly, I'm not healthy enough to do that. You got to be healthy. You saw the guy that had a heart attack just trying to hide a body. It couldn't have been me. One more reason not to exercise. Georgia started it all. Yeah. Are we up to date in this trial? We are. We're about to go to closings. So jury gets this one this morning before lunch. Or right about then. Right about lunchtime. Let's see. It's pretty impressive that we caught up, considering everything that happened. With going up to the Winslow, North Carolina for the jail takeover, and then trying trying to catch the SWAT team with a standoff just in my neck of the woods. I've got some ideas. I've got some ideas for the live stream for when we go on the road that might make it better. First of all, I think I need to bring 2 cameras so that I can be on camera and show you stuff as well. I've already got equipment so I can stay in my vehicle and run it from inside the car, so that helps. Let's see. Thank you, Josh. Just looking as we're waiting for court to start in Judge Dad's court.
Assessment. I'm going to set a bond.
Mr. Boyd is in the.
The only issue I have here is
I'm gonna mute the audio. Mr. Boyd is in the audience there. If we look back there, he's in the suspenders, just behind the attorney's chairs.
Break for lunch, Judge?
So, I'm going to be grabbing that one. As a matter of fact, I'm grabbing it now, so we won't miss it. But we'll probably watch it during break or during something else. You need to hire a camera woman, also known as Mrs. R.A. She has no desire. She's worried about my safety every time I'm like, hey, I'm going to go on the road. She's like, are you sure it's safe? Can you do it from home? Like, I can't get video from home. Yesterday's Judge Dad was good. If you can send me a link with a timestamp, we'll see if we can find it. We might watch it during the verdict watch. There's the judge. My daughter, Mrs. Ari took the kids to a museum, science museum in Raleigh.
All right, anything before the jury's brought down?
There was one thing, Your Honor, in regards to the exhibit that we discussed on yesterday.
One thing about the charge?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
It was about the exhibit from yesterday that we went up there. When I looked at the exhibit list of
the one that was introduced?
Yes.
60 from the deposition?
No, sir. It was in regards to the text that we discussed at the end of the day yesterday.
That the state said we would have asked a whole lot of questions of your phone person. What about it?
I didn't understand yesterday. I thought that you were entering it, or were you just accepting for offer of proof?
Offer of proof, okay. Marked with those others.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let the jury step down.
I guess the jury must be upstairs when he says let the jury step down. That's what he says you'll bring the jury. Cindy, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Who wants to bet defense tries something sneaky today? Well, the state thinks they're going to, because they asked the judge to make sure that nothing is shown during closings that isn't in evidence or an exhibit that's been admitted. Yesterday's poll, I think it was 70% guilty, 30% not guilty.
All right, good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Let the record reflect all of the jurors are here and present. Any closing argument on behalf of the state?
Go straight to closings. Here we go. This will be bifurcated, so it'll be 2 parts. Get your timers ready. She has a total of 1 hour.
You did this so something would happen to the baby. Jade Benning, she did not call 911. She did better than calling 911. Jade Benning called the one person who knew where she was, knew who she was with, would know that she was calling scared and for help. Najee Jackson said as soon as she heard her best friend's voice, she knew she was scared and she needed help. Jade Benning did better. She made sure that Blaise Taylor was not the only person to hear her last words. She made sure that you heard her last words. She called Najee Jackson and said, Blaise, you're scaring me. Najee heard him say, you're scaring me. I know you put something in my drink. I knew my drink tasted funny. Let me see what's in your pocket. Let me see. I know you put something in my drink because I can't even walk straight. I can't feel my legs. You put something in my drink. You did this so something would happen to the baby. I think I'm about to pass out. Jade Benning ensured that you heard her words that night where she was so excited to be having a date night with Blaise Taylor. Her best friend came over. They were the only two people there. Dr. Aaron Carney gave a very specific medical explanation that Jade Benning would have gone pulseless within 30 minutes of ingesting that concentration of cocaine dissolved in a liquid. There were only two people there. The proof and testimony that you have heard over the last week from Jade Benning's family and friends, the pictures, the things in her phone, she was so excited to be having this baby. She was so happy and planning for her baby girl to be born. I submit to you that it does not matter how many questions were asked about fentanyl or cocoethylene. It does nothing to change the evidence and proof that you have that Jade Benning did not want to harm herself or her baby. She wanted the opposite of that. The proof and evidence from Najee Jackson and Dr. Aaron Carney is proof beyond a reasonable doubt for counts 2 and 4 that Blaise Taylor intentionally put that cocaine in Jade's drink to kill the baby. And Jade Benning was killed when he did that. You also have the proof and testimony of Apple Denny. She described to you an event that happened several years before in 2017, but when she heard about what happened to Jade Benning and that Jade Benning was dating Blaise Taylor, she knew immediately. She reached out and contacted people because she knew she had information that it was him. She testified, told you about very personal things that happened to her, but she described what happened over a period of 2 days. Her testimony was she had to talk him out of putting something in another girl's drink who was refusing to have an abortion so that he could cause the abortion without her knowing. Blaise Taylor chose cocaine. He chose what to put in that drink. He chose a substance that you have heard from multiple witnesses is known to cause spontaneous abortions. Dr. Carney described that it is known to cause a placental abruption. And she also testified that that did not happen to Jade Benning. It did not happen because he killed her. I submit to you that there is proof and evidence that you have heard over the last week that proves beyond a reasonable doubt all 4 counts of the indictment, including the first-degree premeditated murder of Jade Benning. Blaise Taylor chose this. You saw when he got back in touch with Jade Benning, they had a conversation that explained what happened back in November of 2022. This is kind of a somewhat joking conversation, but Jade Benning said, "You gave me a crazy ultimatum." Apple Denny testified to that same ultimatum. You have Jade Benning's decision to the ultimatum he gave her. She chose her baby. She did not choose Blaise Taylor. She did not make the choice that Xavier Winford made back in 2017. She chose her baby. Apple Denny gave that same description of the ultimatum, and you have that there was no contact from November 6th to December 31st of 2022. Jade Benning was planning for her baby. Her life was going on. But you also heard from her family and friends that during that time, she was not posting anything about her pregnancy to social media. She had not posted anything to social media about her pregnancy on the day she was murdered. It was not publicized. When Blaise Taylor comes back into Jade Benning's life, this is the evidence that you heard was not he came back welcoming this opportunity with open arms. He tells her very specifically in these messages that your life is changing. This is going to be a thing for you. At no point does he say we, me, ours. This is going to change Jade's life. And he is not portraying it as a positive, telling her she shouldn't be so optimistic. And Jade Benning, just as her friends described her, always optimistic, still said, okay, but I'm going to be able to make this work. Blaise Taylor did not go to any of her pregnancy appointments with her OBGYN. Not one. She asked him very specifically, sending him the calendar event. And specifically saying, I really hope you can make it. I would love for you to be there when I found out the gender of our baby. If it's going to be a boy or a girl, I want you to be there. And he did not go. And even when they saw the shadow and she had to have follow-up testing and then another follow-up appointment, he didn't go to any of those. Jade's stepmom, Andrea, she went with her the day that she found out she was having a baby girl. And Jade was still so happy even though he wasn't there. You also have proof about why Jade wasn't posting, about why everybody didn't know that it was his baby. He was the father. You have a message where Jade is saying, I talked to my mom and let it be known not to bring up you or my situation to anyone. She is defending him and his request that no one know that he's the father of the baby. He responds, but it's all good as long as we are on the same page moving forward. Everything is cool, but I appreciate it. The day before Jade Benning is murdered, the day before, the night before she is murdered, Jade Benning wanted to see Blaise Taylor that night, and he didn't. He is texting Xavier Winford, who he's had some kind of relationship with since 2017. He's texting her and saying, you should never doubt anything when it comes to us. And she says, I'm doing my best. And he says, I know, I'm trying to reassure you. She thanks him. He says, I'll do anything to help you. That's what I'm here for. She says, I trust that's true. And he says, good, do you trust in us? She responds, yes. Good, then you have nothing to worry about. Everything is going to work out. She says he's glad. He says, me too. I love you. And I need you to love me back. And be in love with me. She responds that she loves him, and he says, good, I just want us to be happy together. We are going to be just fine. We just need to stick together. And she promises him that they are going to stick together. The next night, he goes over to Jade Benning's house for date night. The date night that she's planned. She has canvases so that they can paint pictures for the baby's room. He goes over there to the date night with cocaine to put in her drink. He goes to the date night. The testimony that you heard from Nigea Jackson and from Keontae Jones about them stopping by, that whole time that he's shuffling those Uno cards, he has the cocaine to put in her drink. He gets there at 7 p.m. They show up at 7:30 for 30 minutes talking about spades and having random conversation. And he has it. He does not call 911 until 9:29:27. I'm sorry. The call that Jade makes is at 9:29:27. EMTs don't get to her until 9:50. Dr. Carney's testimony is that Jade was given the cocaine that she ingested orally 30 minutes before. You have this photograph from 8/29 that shows the progress She has not been given anything at that point. The next image that you have is at 9:10 p.m. It is somewhere between this point and the next image of their progress that she has to have been given the cocaine in her drink. "9:24 p.m. is the next time that there is an event. It is after that 30-minute mark. She has finished the painting. You heard Dr. Carney's testimony about how the symptoms would start off not severe, but it would escalate really quickly. And 9:24 to 9:28, you have 4 minutes. 4 minutes after he has put this in her drink. He is there and knows what he has done. And for 4 minutes, takes picture after picture with Jade Benning. Blaise Taylor went there with a plan. There was a plan. He has already poisoned her. And he is taking pictures with her. Blaise Taylor did not plan for Jade Benning calling Nyjah Jackson. That hadn't happened yet. The last event that happens is that deleted picture, and within 45 seconds, Jade is calling her best friend. What did you do? She is calling her best friend scared, and she is not talking to Nyjah. She is talking to Blaise Taylor. 6 minutes and 9 seconds. He is there. Jade is telling him, I can't feel my legs. I can't walk straight. He is there and he is not saying anything to her. Like, Jade, what is wrong? What's going on? Let me help you. Come on, sit down. What is happening? You seemed fine just a second ago. What can I get you? Do you want me to call someone? You didn't hear testimony of any of that from Nyjah Jackson. You also heard Blaise Taylor tell Detective Smith that third interview. He was describing what happened that night, and he said that Jade was trying to lay down. He didn't tell him, so then I helped her. He says that Jade was talking to him. Talking to him. And then he says she wasn't saying stuff right. Maybe she was kind of talking to Nyjah. Now, at this point, when he tells this to Detective Smith, Nyjah Jackson has already told everybody exactly what she heard her best friend said. She's told the people at the hospital, the first officer, the second officer, the detective, family and friends. She's told Blaise Taylor to his face, like, you didn't tell them what she said. He stood there for 6 minutes and 9 seconds knowing that he put cocaine in her drink and she drank it. Well, she said these things to him of, I know you did this. Stood there for 6 minutes and 9 seconds and did nothing to help her. At some point, Blaise Taylor figured out that Jade called Nyjah. He tells Detective Smith that he was there when she called her and that he spoke to Nigella on the phone. And Jade told Nigella she wanted her to come over. Nigella Jackson's testimony was unimpeached about what she heard her best friend said and about what happened that night. Blaise Taylor did call 911. He did. But he already knew that Nigella had been on that phone call. Because this is before Nigella has gotten back to the apartment. She hasn't told anyone she heard what he said. She hasn't called him. She doesn't call him until 9:47:11 when she calls back to Jade's phone. That's when she talks to him. But 5 minutes before that, after he's called 911,
No. Because you live with the metal. I think one of our friends is on the way. Okay. You right there? No. Because you live with the metal. I think one of our friends is on the way. Okay.
Blaise Taylor is telling the 911 operator that one of Jade's friends is on the way. He hasn't spoken to Nigella Jackson yet, but he already knows she's on the way. I submit to you that call to 911 by Blaise Taylor is because Jade messed up the plan. He knew Nigella was coming. That's why he called. And even then, after 6 minutes and 9 seconds of Jade Finney's last words on earth, he doesn't even call her immediately. He doesn't call 911 immediately to get her help. He waits 2 minutes and 37 seconds, and then he calls his dad, which that's a 30-second phone call. There was no testimony as to whether or not that call even got answered. It's 3 minutes and 28 seconds after that call with Nigella ends before he calls 911. There was no cup with any cocaine that was collected in that apartment. There are 3.5 minutes before he calls 911. You do have his statements with Detective Smith. Blaise Taylor tells him, oh, there's no alcohol whatsoever. No, 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 no. And we both drank the same stuff. And then he's asked if he cleaned up, and no cleanup. He says that Jade cleaned up some. There was some cleanup by her, but he was not cleaning anything in the apartment. And when asked if they went back and got the glasses, if the lab would test positive for anything, and he said no, it won't. Now, there's at least 2.5 minutes before the 911 call, and that's just the call to his father. There's this time of what's happening. This cup ends up over by the sink. Detective Reese testified that it appeared it had been washed out. The camera, that is after Nigella Jackson moved the camera back to where it normally would have been. This is from 3 days before. This is what the camera would have captured. If someone went over to the kitchen island and did anything to any of the cups, it would have been on that camera.
Camera wasn't
But
recording.
that camera was not where it normally was. When her friends, thank goodness, went to her apartment to secure it and make sure that the evidence was collected. That's where they found the camera. In her bedroom with the blinds up, in a place that would not capture anything that happened to Jade Benning on her bed and anything that happened in the kitchen. You notice the selfies that they took for 4 minutes while the cocaine was clamping down on her blood vessels before it could make her heart stop. They were all off to the right, not in that camera angle. The 911 call that happens 3.5 minutes after the call to Nigeria ends. Listen to the call and where he is.
February 25, 2023, 21:38 and 58 seconds.
911, what is the location of your emergency? I'm not sure if I'm bouncing back. I'm at a friend's house and I think she's having an allergic reaction. So, yeah, there's no problem. I'm sure it's that way you can find her. I don't know. It's an apartment complex. Is there a nail with her? Looking, I was looking around. It's just give me a second. I'm looking around. I don't know what's going on. I think she just give me 1 second. Okay, are you on Donald tonight or are you on Lebanon? Lebanon? Yeah, Lebanon. It's apartment 107. What is it? Is it 1540 Lebanon Place? I don't know. It's not Burger King. I do know that. I'm going to the apartment building to get the condo / apartment. Yeah, okay, is there a bathtub in the corner there, sir? Is there a what? The bathtub in the corner? I'm not sure. I just passed it. I'm going to the Ontario 1522-1550 Lebanon Pike, the Ontario. 1522? Yes. It's the Ontario 1522-1550 Lebanon Pike. So the Ontario 1522, she's in the apartment 107, and she's having an overdose, is that correct? I don't know, I think she's having a allergic reaction. We were eating cookies and pain, and she said she wasn't feeling it, and now I'm going back to the room to check on her.
I'm running back to the room to check on her. He's outside. It might not be that pink cup by the sink. He's had all of this time. He's running around outside. He's not there with Jade. He told the first officer, the second officer, Detective Smith, everybody. She threw up, called my dad. He told me to hang up, called 911. He is running around outside, not even with her.
And what's the case we disconnected while you're here up there? What's the callback number in case we disconnected? This number right here. Is it 8 number 773-5738? Yeah. Okay, now what is it? 23, 24. Okay, is she awake right now? Yes. Okay. And you think she's having an allergic reaction to food? I don't know, we got cookies and pasta. I don't know if she's done anything today or anything, but everything was fine. And then, I don't know what's happened. So we got big amount of mouth and she's shaking. So you think possibly reaction to non-known food, is that correct? I think so, I don't know. I don't think she's allergic to anything, I don't know. I don't think she is or not. It could be due to an allergic reaction. So are you Dexter? Is that Dexter cancer? Yeah. Okay, does she appear to be breathing normally? Yeah, yeah. Okay, does she have any difficulty swallowing? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Is she recovering more?
It sounds like she's snoring. Dr. Carney explained that that's agonal breathing, that she is very close to full cardiac arrest. Mr. Taylor describes her as being breathing and conscious the entire 911 call. I submit to you it's unclear if he is giving any information as it happens or if he's just describing what's already happened. He calls 911 knowing that Nigea Jackson is on her way and she is going to find Jade Benning pulseless. He called knowing what he gave her. When they found her, she is face down on her bed, her mouth on the comforter with pink vomit that tests positive for cocaine. I submit to you, it doesn't matter what was in the drink. It doesn't matter if there was something else mixed in with it. That doesn't matter. The proof and evidence in this case is that Blaise Taylor put whatever it was in Jade Benning's drink. He did it and then stayed for 30 minutes. He did it thinking he would be the only one that would hear her words. He did it thinking you would never hear her words. Jade Benning said, "You put something in my drink. You did this so something would happen to the baby." Blaise Taylor is guilty of the first-degree murder of Jade Benning. He is guilty for the first-degree murder of her unborn baby girl. The proof and evidence in this case proves that beyond a reasonable doubt. He is guilty of both counts of felony murder because he chose to give her cocaine, he chose to put it in her drink, and he chose to kill both her and her unborn baby girl. And we will ask that you return a verdict of guilty on all 4 counts of the indictment.
She used about 34 minutes of her time. So save about half for round 2 for rebuttal. They brought their own furniture. That's the bailiff. Letitia will be speaking for this. Nice PowerPoint. View of the river.
Good morning. Standing here at the end of the trial and trying to put everything together is always, for me, very difficult because the burden is always very heavy.
It's not on you.
And your jobs are never, it's just never easy. Never easy. But we're here. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about is the words that you guys gave us. Not just me, but the state as well. Not just Mr. Taylor, but Jade's family as well. No matter what happens as a result of this, it is still a tragedy. It is still a very awful incident that occurred. And there is only one question that we have to answer. Is whether or not Blaise Taylor, in your minds and in your opinions, is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There is only one question or one thing that we will ask of you, that I will ask of you, that Blaise will ask of you, that his family will ask of you. And that is to keep your word. Keep the word that each one of you gave us. And that is that you could follow the law. You cannot, we cannot build a justice system based on emotion, based on sympathy, based on just the mere fact that a tragedy occurred. Every time a loved one leaves this earth, it is sad and it is a tragedy. But that in and of itself cannot drive our justice system. What we cannot do is say, because someone lost their life, that we don't have to follow the law. That we don't have to hold the state to its burden. Because otherwise this system collapses. We could talk about the pain that a mother feels when she loses a child. We can talk about a beautiful young lady and her daughter who is no longer with us. And if you're not human, you won't hurt. But if you are human, you will hurt.
Guessing most of the jurors are in that second category.
Should not play into your decision making. In order for this thing that we call the Constitution to work, you have to set that aside. And that's the word that you gave us. That's the oath you swore to take. There is a burden here. And I bring it up because that's why we're here. I'm not bringing this up as a facade. I'm not doing that. I'm just reminding you what the law is. I'm just reminding you what governs this trial. Every defendant has a Sixth Amendment right to a fair and impartial trial. Every citizen charged with a crime should get a fair and impartial jury trial. And at the end of the day, when those jurors make a decision as to whether or not he is innocent and or guilty, they must use that burden of proof. And they must hold the state to it. What you can't do is say, well, then what happened to her? If he didn't do it, then what happened to her? Well, I don't know. Well, I don't either. Well, then he must be guilty. Because he didn't prove to us that it wasn't him. But remember, we don't have to do that. That's not the burden. They must prove to you what happened to Miss Bennett. They must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt what happened that night. Not us, not the defense. So then you ask yourself, well, what happened? If he didn't do it, what happened? You're going to say that 1,000,000 times because that's just a natural reaction to what we're dealing with. But remember, as you are going along that journey, deliberating back there, going through the evidence, remember, they must prove it to you. You cannot ever place that burden on Blaise. You cannot. The minute you do that, that Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial collapses. And once that collapses, the system collapses. And once the system collapses, you have people wrongfully convicted and sitting in jail for a very long time,
I think it's
trying to prove their innocence.
Zombie apocalypse at that point.
And that's not the way it was designed to work. That is not the way our forefathers meant for it to work. So with that being said, let's talk about it.
When the system collapses, I don't think we still have jails.
Remember, as we came in here on June 22nd, 2026, we dealt with an official finding of undetermined. The manner of death in this case. By the state's own medical examiner. She had the option to choose homicide. She knew the facts. You heard from Dr. Carney way before you did. And she couldn't figure out what the manner of death was. She landed on undetermined. And she's still on undetermined. Now you're tasked with whether or not you can take it over the hump and move it to murder beyond a reasonable doubt. I want to talk to you guys first about the facts of this case and what you've learned since you've been here. What I don't want you to do as we take this journey is come into this environment and say to yourselves, I want to live in La La Land. I want everything to be perfect. Life isn't perfect. And the older you get, the more you learn that. The older you get, the harder it gets. Trust me when I tell you that. And those of us over the age of 50 can tell you about things that we experience in life that are good, that are ugly, things that we've learned along the way.
Us 4 and 9-year-olds can't.
How we treated people in the past, how we interacted with people in the past, how we respond to people in the past, and how we respond to people now.
Why do you have to be 50 to do that?
You learn along the way. But what life isn't is a perfect cookie cutter La La Land. That's not life. So let's talk about Blaise and Ayden. They met on Hinge. They dated for a little while in terms of, I shouldn't say date, they interacted for a little while, but never really met up. And remember, these are young people. They had casual relationships, not just with each other, but with other people too. And it wasn't just Blaise that dated other people. They both dated other people. They were adults. They were consenting. Nobody did anything wrong because everybody agreed that you can date someone else and you could date someone else. We may not want to live our lives that way, but that's the way they chose to live their life. So when you hear the facts about Blaise texting someone else, that was nothing against Jade because she was okay with it. So don't let the state make you think that because he was dating someone else and he texted that other person, that was something nefarious or wrong. It wasn't. He didn't have to hide that. She knew that. Najee told you that. She said it to the police officers. She said they weren't dating like that. They weren't exclusive. So no matter how many times the state tells you that Blaise was texting another woman, there's nothing nefarious about that. And that has nothing to do with whether or not he committed murder. So don't go down that road trap. Stay focused on what you're here to do. And I want to be clear when I tell you that when we're talking about facts, if you remember, in voir dire, I had a slide up, and it had facts and blame. And I asked each one of you, would you be okay if sometimes facts were ugly, but I needed to share that with you so that you could have all the facts to come to a decision? It would be unfair to Blaise if you didn't have all the facts. So don't think that those facts that we're putting before you are there to put blame or shame on anybody, because it's not. But it would be unfair for you not to have all the facts so that you can come to a conclusion, one that makes sense based on the evidence in this case. Because that's how you get to a solid verdict, is because of evidence, not of sympathy, and not of being angry because I want to give you facts. That's all I want to do. So when they're dating in this casual relationship, they knew each other for less than 90 days. That's a fact. They met up in August, and before the end of the month, they were having sex. That's a fact. And they were having sex without a condom. That is a fact. And we know that because otherwise she wouldn't have been pregnant and thought it was Blaise's. So when she finds out that she's pregnant, she and her best friend are trying to make a decision about who the father was. Because at that time, she wasn't sure. And we talked about that with Najee. And to me, I think that that is a crucial fact for you to consider. Because if she wasn't sure Blaise was the father of the baby, neither was he. So you would then have to believe that he would kill her and that child, not even knowing if it's his or not. That's a fact. And so she tells him she's pregnant.
You'd have to believe he'd kill her?
And he's
That's
not
a
happy
fact?
about it.
What?
She is. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But Blaise, on the other hand, with only knowing her for 90 days, maybe he's not happy about that. I guarantee you he is not the first human being that in his 20s had a unexpected pregnancy pop up, and he's not happy. I guarantee you he is not the only human being who's ever felt that way. And they want you to believe that that's just a horrible fact that would give him motive to kill her and the baby. Most folks in their 20 years, who is in their 20s, who get someone pregnant that they don't know within 90 days, I'm willing to bet at least 50-50, are not happy. That's real life stuff. That's not a nefarious fact. That's just real life stuff. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today about, is real life stuff. Because if you remember, you heard from Nigeria, they were talking about possibly going to Indiana for an abortion. Remember, Nigeria was saying it was 2 weeks, 8 weeks, you better make a decision and make it quick if that's what you want to do. And she said, yeah, I do. I need to make that decision. You heard that testimony. Eventually, she landed on having the baby, which she has every right to do. But somehow, it's okay for her to consider abortion. But it wasn't okay for Blaise to consider it. That's not fair. Don't let them turn that into a nefarious fact that will automatically get you over to murder. They both considered it. It was just her window was shorter than his.
What's with these nefarious facts?
And it would be unfair for you to punish him if you don't punish her. So at some point, they talk about it. Apparently, Blaise was still in the position that he was in, even though she had changed her mind. And she, with the strength that obviously she has, or had, said, look, I'm not changing my mind. You've made your decision. If you don't want to be part of this baby's life, kick rocks. I'm good. And he said, okay. You don't see after that, because Najee, I asked her those questions. You don't see after that Blaise constantly calling her, trying to convince her to have an abortion, trying to manipulate her into having an abortion, blowing up her phone, smoothing her out. Because if ultimately his plan was going to be to try to kill the baby, it would have made way more sense to do it up front than wait till she's almost 6 months pregnant. Why would you wait until somebody gets 6 months pregnant if that was your plan all along? Remember, she came back in contact with her, December 31st. So he's going to drag it out and let that fetus get 2 months bigger? That don't make sense. He could have done that a whole lot sooner. That would have made sense. That would have been easier. A miscarriage within the first 90 days, that makes sense. Some people don't even tell people they're pregnant for the first 90 days until they're sure that they get past that first trimester. But he'll wait until she's 6 months? So she makes a decision. She says, you go your way, I'll go mine. And he honors that. He honors her wishes. Now, if he was cooking up and stirring up this evil plan, why wouldn't he start the manipulation right off? Najee told you that she liked him. She wanted to be with him. So it would have been easy for him to do that. But he didn't. And I think that's a very important fact. Because if you remember that text message that they read, to you, I want to remind you of that text message. This is Jade. Remember, they read this to you. Next time I'm tagging along for the adventure. LOL. Blaise says, LOL, okay. That's if you want, of course. This is Jade. LOL. He says, gotta still have a job first. And second, you probably ain't doing much traveling for a while anymore. When next season rolls around, I don't think you'll be able to just make impromptu trips on the weekends, considering you'll have other responsibilities. Not trying to be negative or nothing, but just being realistic. I mean, it would be great if you could, but it's unlikely. What does that mean? That means next time this year, you're gonna be a mother. She's 23, 24 years old, 24. You're gonna be a young mother. And that comes with a whole lot of responsibilities. So start getting your mind right. And if that's gonna be the mother of his child, let me give you a little advice. Men who handle their business, they want women, the mother of their children, to handle their business so that they can set a good example for the child that they're raising. Don't let the state turn that into some kind of, oh, he was so mean. No, he was telling her the truth. And those of us that are mothers, we know the responsibility it takes to raise a child.
Handle their business. Clearly there's women on the jury.
Oftentimes, you miss trips because you got to stay home with your child. You don't get to go away like you used to when you're single. You need to start thinking about those things. The lifestyle that you live, hanging out with your friends and drinking and having a good time, that's going to change. And that's what he's telling her. Not to be mean, but to be real. What's wrong with that? Then he goes on to say, or she says, LOL, okay, didn't mean to make it all serious, but yes, responsibilities will be different, but living life will still be happening as well, just living differently. And I understand the realistic thinking of it as well. It's part of the big change, she says. And he says, yeah, especially for you. I remember getting pregnant.
Objection relevance.
And my mother says something I'll never forget. It goes a long way. She said, honey, that's going to be your baby. Because it's nothing like a mother with their child.
So
daddies love their children, yes they do. But they don't love them the way the mother does.
So Jade never would have done
that
this.
That mother gets up every morning. That mother got to comb hair. That mother has to get that child out there. And yes, the father should participate as well. But the reality of it is, men don't come close on the daily activities that a mother does with their child. That's real. It's probably something he saw every day with his own mother. And she says, of course, wasn't trying to get into a serious talk for us, sorry. He says, but we don't got to be super serious. I just didn't want to sell false dreams because, yeah, it would be great if you could come on my work trips. But I just feel like it's not realistic from a financial or just a feasible ability to randomly catch a flight and get away for a weekend. We're young. Money's already tight. We can't just spend money on getaway trips on the weekend and this baby is coming. And I could lie to you, or I can keep it real with you. Blaise wouldn't have been able to win here. It didn't matter. If he would have sold her a dream and lied to her on here, they would have been telling you that. But now he's keeping it real with her, being honest with her, and now that's wrong too. Would you rather him lie? The man was trying to be honest. The man was trying to be responsible. And somehow, that's wrong too. It's no big deal. I know you wasn't meaning it that way, but I just didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I'll bring you on the next one, next year, knowing that it's probably a lie. She says, totally understand, babes. It's not like it can never happen because I'm having a baby, but realistic, it wouldn't be able to on the fly. Planning out things will always be an option. Life doesn't just stop because of it though. Laugh out loud. We're still going to have one, just living different. He says, I hear you, but you can't minimize how much things are going to change for you. You've got to be realistic that things are about to be hella different for you and will change drastically. Your day-to-day life is not going to be the same. Yeah, life goes on, but it's forever altered and changed in a drastic way. I'm not saying it's over or anything, but it worries me sometimes when you downplay it and act like it's no big deal. And I know you always want to be super optimistic and stuff, but I feel like you need to be honest with yourself about the situation and know what's down the road for you. Now let's back up with that. He says, it worries me sometimes when you downplay it. That means there's something that has gone on in the past that has caused him, with the woman who is potentially going to be the mother of his child, to start having serious conversations with her. Hey man, let's plan this thing out. Start thinking right. So there's something going on there that made him feel like he should have this conversation with her. If that's going to be the mother of his child, what's wrong with that? In fact, that might be good. And then he says, I just want to make sure you understand the gravity of the situation and you're preparing for those realities. That's all. She says, I'm not trying to minimize things, and sometimes I can be super optimistic. She's admitting to it about things which can be scary. But I do sit and process that there will be drastic life changes and prepare myself for the tough realities as much as I can that are to come. I'm not just trying to make it seem like everything is going to be all peaches and cream. I am hearing and understanding everything you are saying. He liked it. And then he says, hey, what time are you going to work? She says around 3. So she wasn't upset about the conversation. And if you remember, Mr. Devlin, when he was testifying about some of the text messages between them, do you remember when she said that it turned her on when he talked serious with her? That's what this is. That came out of her mouth. It turns me on when you talk serious to me. Some people like to date people and be with people that motivate them to be their best. People who hold their feet to the fire. Iron sharpens iron. And I always say, I never want to be the smartest person in the room, because how can I get better? So when you're attracted to people who are responsible, and that's who you attach yourself with, you're hoping that it makes you a better person. All of our parents have told us, watch your friends. Watch who you hang out with. Look at the 5 closest people in your life and you'll see your future. So she wouldn't have said that she's turned on by having serious conversations with him if she wasn't. And so that was the nature of that conversation. Now, there was so much talk about how Blaise just totally disregarded the baby, totally disregarded her pregnancy, as if he was just pushing her off to the side, waiting for the perfect moment to kill her and the child. Because if you notice the tone of that text message conversation, it was talking about the future. Why talk about the future if your plan is to kill her anyway? You wouldn't even have to have those conversations. You could just continue to make her feel peachy and creamy. You don't make plans and you don't try to help the person become more realistic about what it takes to be a mother if it's not your intention for her to be a mother. That doesn't even make sense. So I wanted to show you a few things because we didn't get to show you everything in the phone, because if you remember when I asked Mr. Devlin, was there a whole lot more in there? He says, yes, we only provided a sample. So some of those text messages were, Blaise told me last night he signed up for monthly subscriptions of diapers from this company, Kudos, LOL. Why would he do that if it was his intention to kill the child?
He was incontinent.
Didn't you ever state at occasion you knew that he and Miss Benning talked about naming the baby Jim? Do you remember when I asked Nigella Jackson that? And she says, yes. I said, well, that would be involved with the baby, wouldn't it? She says, I mean, yeah. Because remember, her name is Jade, his name is Blaise, and so they were going to name the baby Jim. That's being involved. It may not have been to the level that she would have wanted it. And I guarantee you yet again, if we're talking about real life, there's a whole lot of women out there who would love for their significant others to be a little bit more involved with the child. I certainly know that I would. Here, does Blaise rub your belly? LOL. Sometimes. If he's planning names, buying diaper subscriptions, and rubbing her belly, then what we're really talking about is that he wasn't doing it on the level that maybe she wanted it. It wasn't that he wasn't doing it at all. Let's go now to the day in question, because we know how they've met. We know how they dated. We know what the understanding was. We know they both considered abortion at one time. One changed their mind quicker than the other. They got back together. They're having realistic conversations. And remember I told you about before, during, and after. Because no one saw Blaise put cocaine in Jade's drink. Nobody saw that. That's undisputed. Nobody saw Blaise give her alcohol. And we're going to talk about that a little later. Nobody saw that. So what that means is this is a circumstantial case. And in order for you to come to a conclusion that is proper in a circumstantial case, because those are the most dangerous ones, because nobody sees what happened, you have to consider all the surrounding circumstances. Most of the time, the crime is in the cleanup, and I'm sure you've heard that before. So you have your before bucket, your during bucket, and your after. What we do know, and like I said, I'm not doing this to shame anyone, Because if I was, I would have a ton of text messages up there about drugs and all kinds of stuff, but I'm not doing that. The only reason I'm sharing this information with you is so that you can have the facts as they really are. So when we talk about before, there was only one person involved with drugs, and it wasn't Blaise. You didn't hear any evidence of Blaise purchasing cocaine, smoking weed, doing mushrooms, getting drunk, drinking alcohol. In fact, it was the exact opposite. The evidence you heard is that Blaise does not drink and does not do drugs. However, what you did hear is that Jay does drink to the point that she gets drunk, and she does drugs. So that's before. Remember, this is circumstantial, so you consider all the facts surrounding it. Jade invites Blaise over. This is important because Blaise didn't know that Jade was going to invite him over that day. He had just seen her the day before. Remember, they had gone to the Waffle House. So there were 2 days before that he was with her, that he could have pulled off the elaborate plan, but he didn't. And so spontaneously, she invites him over again. This is the third day in a row now. And so you see here, also, will you be free around 7 o'clock? Yeah, I fell asleep watching Outer Banks, then woke up to gun firing on the show. But yeah, I should be. LMAO, woke up confused, ASF. Okay, I'll have plans for us. You can come dressed, comfy to my house. Okay, sounds good. Sweet, I am getting off now, she says. And that is at 3:50. And he says, how was work? So now this spontaneous plan is 3:50. He has 3 hours to cook up the elaborate plan to kill her. Because remember, he didn't know she was going to ask him to come over that day. So he comes over. When he comes over, it's 7 o'clock. He's there. And then Nigella and Keontae shows up. He didn't know that, right? Now, if all the while it was his plan to kill her that night, you would think that once Keontae and Nigella showed up, if he had any kind of sense, he'll abort the plan. But no, he's brazen. Even though her best friend came over, saw him in the apartment alone with her, almost 6 months pregnant, 25 weeks, I believe the autopsy said, he decides, I'm going to go ahead with the plan and kill her anyway. I know they saw me in here. Doesn't matter. I'm going to do it anyway. And so they eat.
Is that how you spell alleged?
Nigella and Keontae, they come, they talk, they interact. He invites them to stay. He invites them to stay. Why would you invite them to stay if it's your plan to kill them?
Her head was in the way.
So you can have witnesses?
I saw it differently.
No. So they stay, they talk, he's shuffling Uno cards because the murderer who doesn't drink or do drugs plays Uno and then kills pregnant women on his downtime. And then they leave.
Reverse
and then
killer.
they talk and they dance. They take selfies. And then the call comes. It's 9:29. The first call from Nigella. And the reason I wanted to lay this out this way was because there's been so much talk about this elaborate cleanup that he must have done. And I wanted you to see that there was no time for that. Because now we're in the during phase. And so 9:29, Najee calls, and that call lasts 6 minutes, 9 seconds. That takes us to 9:35 and some change. And I think the interchange between that time and when he calls his father at 9:38 and 12 seconds is about 2 minutes. Now, mind you, Jade is having a medical emergency. All kind of things are going on. She's foaming at the mouth. She's shaking. She sounds like she's snoring. They tell him to get a towel, go wipe her mouth, put her on her side. He's trying to tend to her. But he's being punished for that. And if he wouldn't have tended to her, he would have been punished for that. But even still, as he is calling, or in the call at 9:29, when Najee says that she's saying, "You put something in my drink." What did you put in my drink? Do you remember the text message that Najee sent as a result of hearing "you put something in my drink"? Are you talking to me? I want everybody to think about your best friend. And your best friend calls you on the phone. I want you to envision that. And you pick up the phone and you say hello. And they tell you on the other phone, you hear, "You're stabbing me. You're shooting me. You're killing me." Are you going to say, "Are you talking to me?" You know they're not talking to you. You're going to say, "What's wrong? What's going on over there? Do I need to come get you? Do I need to call 911? That's a natural response.
She's got about 18 minutes left.
But instead, you send a text saying, "Are you talking to me?" Remember, nobody else heard exactly what was going on that phone call. Nobody but Najee. So let's look at the facts surrounding that. As much as she says that this was the worst thing she's ever heard, her friend was in so much danger, so much distress. It was horrible. It was scary. She knew, because she just left there. She knew that he was in that apartment. She was in that apartment alone with the man who was trying to kill her, according to her. But she doesn't call 911. Instead, she calls Keontae, who only met Jade twice. And apparently he gets on the phone. They're talking. At least he says he could hear her trying to talk. So if she's trying to talk, Dr. Ola Sugar told you she has to be breathing in order to do that. Remember, Keontae actually said he did hear her voice. But even with that, as dire straits as Najee explains that it is, he goes out with his buddies anyway. Think about that. If it was as horrible and dangerous, why would this guy put his clothes on and go on out anyway? And then remember, Najee, immediately after hanging up, calls Jade's mom and shares with her what she heard, what Jade said. And notwithstanding that, Jade's mom sends Blaise a text and says, "Oh, the baby's good, the heartbeat is okay." If it was as serious and people believed Najee or believed in the credibility of her, do you think that Jade's mother would text that man and tell him and give him an update about the baby? Are you going to text the man who's just been accused of killing your child and give them an update about the baby? Are you going to do that? There's something not right about it. But that's what happened. And so, right after that phone call, he calls his dad on the phone with him for 30 seconds, because that's what he told the police officer, that he talked to his dad, and his dad said, call, son, hang up with me and call 911. What are you doing on the phone with me? He does that, and within 16, so if that call lasted 30 seconds, that takes us to 9:38 and 42 seconds. And at 9:38 and 58 seconds, Blaise is on the phone with 911, and you heard that call. You heard the desperation in his voice. He didn't know the address to give the man. You remember that interchange. So the only way to get the address would be to run to the front to get the address. And if you remember what he says, I want you guys to pay attention to this. He said the address is 1522-1550 Lebanon Pike. Most of the time when people give an address, it's only one numeric value. It makes sense that he ran to the front of the apartment or the condominium complex, because that's the exact address he gave them.
Could have got rid of that paper cup too, that disposable one.
So then, after that, I went the wrong way.
Oh, we're all over the place.
Then he gets off the phone with 911, and she calls back. So if it was 6 minutes and some, I'm sorry, the 911 call was almost 9 minutes. So that would take him right around to 9:47, and Nigel calls back to Jade's phone. And he answers. He didn't have to answer. It was Jade's phone. He could have said, I was dealing with an emergency. But he picked up the phone and gave her an update, doing the responsible thing. Then after that, that call lasted about 2 minutes, she says. That takes us to around 9:49. EMS arrives at 9:48. And if you look at that slip from the EMS, because you'll have the right to look at the evidence, it's going to show you that EMS arrived about 9:48. And you heard him say, I can hear the sirens. I think I can hear the sirens. And then he goes out and runs to get them. Remember, on the call, the man says, put her on her side. So he did that. Then if you remember, as much as she didn't want to, she told you that Blaise ran out to meet them, at least at the door. So perhaps she rolled over while he was gone. We don't know. But nobody's calling 911 and doing all those things to help, only to put her on the side and try to kill her. So by now, EMS is there, so the time for cleanup is gone. Where was all this time for him to clean up? It's not there, because remember, those selfies was less than 60 seconds before the emergency call. The time just isn't there. So that's during. So when we think about during, there was only one person who called 911. Only one. As sick and as dangerous as it was described to be, only one person called 911. Frantic, running to get the address, doing everything that he could do. That's during. Now let's talk about after the investigation. Listen. What's unfair is 3 years later, Blaise is now held responsible to try to prove himself innocent, when one, that's not the law, and two, a lot of the evidence is gone. That's unfair. How can I prove my innocence when Detective Reese said he let the video surveillance camera get erased? How does the lead detective not get that surveillance camera that would have showed Blaise coming and going, Najee and Keontae coming and going, If he really ran to the sign, we would have seen that. If he came there with something in his hand, alcohol and or cocaine, perhaps we would have seen that on the video. If somebody else showed up there that day, perhaps we would have seen that. But they allowed it to get destroyed. Blaise didn't know that. Remember, he didn't get arrested for a year later. If he knew the burden was going to be shifted from what the law was, then maybe he would have done the investigation himself. But he was trusting the police to do the investigation, because that's their job. And we know that she met with the drug dealer that day, albeit it was for Mario or whoever it was for. If this is a drug overdose, I really want y'all to think about this. If this is a drug overdose, why wouldn't the police officer go talk to the drug dealer? If it was a financial crime, you chase the money. How in the world, in a drug crime, you don't bother to speak with the dude who sold her drugs that day, whoever it was for, whether she met up with him or not? That's not for us to have to figure out. But he didn't. So now you don't talk to key witnesses. And there were other drug dealers in her phone too. They didn't call any of them.
Guess what else bad
You
the witness
let the
victim
surveillance video get destroyed that possibly could have exonerated him. But we'll never know that. And now he will be punished for it. You let the cup that was supposedly the missing cup, the crime scene investigation team, they didn't see it. It was on the counter. Somehow we missed it. But all along, there was this missing cup that Blaise must have taken, because he cleaned up. We already seen there wasn't time to clean up. And he had taken the cup with him. The whole time, Detective Reese had to tell you, we missed the cup. It was there the whole time. Well, perhaps if Blaise knew one day he would be sitting here facing felony murder charges, he'd have had the cup tested himself. But he can't do that now. And he shouldn't have to do that now, because that's not the law. That was their job. And if it was cocaine in it, they would have known it. But they did take a bunch of glasses. They took all kinds of things from out of their dishwise, and there wasn't anything on it. Anything. And think about this. Remember how they talked about all this cocaine? One thing they cannot get away from is that she had cocaethylene in her system. They can't get as much as they would love to. They told you first it was coming from vanilla extract. Don't do that. Don't believe that. Or two, because of some of the treatment she got at Vanderbilt. There is no treatment at Vanderbilt that leaves you with cocaethylene in your system when cocaine and alcohol come together. That means, think about this, that means that he would have had to put cocaine and alcohol in either her water or her lemonade. And the chefs have sensitive palates. They taste food. That's what they do. They'll taste something and they'll tell you what ingredient is in it, because they're trained that way. She didn't taste alcohol or cocaine. Neither one of them. And the amount that they're saying that he gave her.
What did you put in my drink?
Does that make sense? How do you do that? How do you put that much cocaine in somebody's drink and alcohol, and they come out saying it tastes funny? It's going to taste a whole lot worse than just funny. You're not going to keep drinking it. And according to the state, it was so much that it caused this overdose. So she kept drinking cocaine and alcohol, the chef, and never, ever noticed it? No. So then we go to the fact that first, Lauren Weber went to the scene. Now remember, police are all through that hospital now, because they get to the hospital at 10:12. That's going to be on your sheet. Remember, 5. So that's over an hour or so later. You got Officer Fish, Officer Pfeiffer, Detective Martin. You have all these officers who are now interviewing Najee, interviewing Blaise. And Najee knew it, and I guarantee you, Ms. Burks knew it, Ms. Franklin knew it, and Lauren Weber knew it. And we know they knew it because Officer Fish told you that Ms. Burks was on the phone when she was talking to Ms. Brown. And she said that they told them the detectives are coming that night. But Lauren Weber remembers the significant other of Mario, the one who asked her to go get drugs that day. The first person in there is Lauren Weber. And she said, don't get lost on it, she said, all I did, I didn't touch anything. I grabbed the keys, blew out a candle, and left. But Officer Reese told you that she said she removed belongings too, and that she looked all throughout it. You can't do both. One of them is not true. Either you went in and grabbed keys and just left, or you went in there and grabbed belongings and looked all throughout it. And if you did that, why lie about it? Just say what it is. Unless you had something to hide, or unless you went to get something. Then notwithstanding that, now you have detectives on the scene. And Officer Fish told you that she told Ms. Burks and Ms. Browning, this scene is on lock. Nobody in, nobody out. But the truth is, nobody should have had to tell you that. Because if he did it and you think he did it, you want to leave that scene just the way it is. Because he may have made a mistake. And I want those officers to be able to catch that mistake. I don't want to touch it. Jay doesn't need to go back there that night. She's in the hospital. We're going to lock this thing down because we're going to catch him. I know he would have made a mistake. They went in there and they removed evidence and they manipulated evidence by moving it from here to here. Why would you do that? And they said, oh, well, the officer gave us permission. And then you remember Detective Martin getting on the stand? And then he said, oh, I may have given them permission. And Mr. Joyner said, well, didn't you send me an email yesterday saying that you didn't? What changed? Oh, well, this morning when I got here, things changed. Okay. Don't allow that to happen. That's not right. Because what detective will tell a woman and 3 young girls, y'all go do the investigating for me, let me know when you're done and what you come up with? That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And then you have the only other eyewitness, the only other person in that house. He should be just as important as Najee.
All right, Ms. Hollins, you need to be wrapping up your argument.
And Detective Reese, yes, sir. Detective Reese said, I like to bring people in to talk. But I didn't bother to have Keontae came down. I just called him on the phone. And Keontae wouldn't tell you the truth about his theft conviction. And he told you, because he didn't talk to anybody there that night, even though he went there. Why not? He said they didn't have security. There it is right there. Why didn't he talk? I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm going to go through it quickly.
You don't have any time left.
May I have 5 minutes? Yes, sir.
You got a minute.
Got a minute.
I've given you the investigation. That's the towel he took. I got 60 seconds. I'm going to do my best. That's the towel he took. That's where he got it from. If he was cleaning up, he would have fixed those towels, but he didn't. That's the surveillance video. That's that missing cup. It was sitting there the entire time. No one in, no one out. That's the V8 bottle. It wasn't in there. You see the lemonade, you don't see the V8. And on those other pictures, you don't see it either. So.
Just click. The juries will read. Just click. Oh my goodness.
Ethylene is in the system. You're going to have the reports.
Yeah, we didn't even get to cocoa.
It's there, and it was there in the vomit. And all of these doctors told you that. And the autopsy report at the end of the day, don't forget what I've shared with you. At the end of the day, even the medical examiner can't come to a conclusion. And with all these surrounding circumstances, how can you? Now, I told you that when you get back there, you're going to be tired and it's going to be long. And you promised me that you would not let anyone change your convictions of what you believe, no matter how long it takes. Because you said if they can't make a decision in the most important affairs of your life, that you wouldn't let them do it for Blaise. I thank you so much for your patience and for being here. And the Taylor family does as well. I won't get back up here and make another argument.
You're so done, man.
Because we don't have the burden, they do. So when you get back there, you make the argument for me. Thank you.
All right, any rebuttal argument on behalf of the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, we do. We should have about 22 minutes or so on behalf of the state. 24 if you give them the extra time that the state went over.
Ms. Hollins went back and forth between whether or not Blaise Taylor even thought he was the father of this child. She said that Nigella Jackson said she wasn't sure. You heard the testimony. I submit to you that Nigella said she was sure, it's just he wasn't involved. And she was saying that at the hospital because he was telling the people at the hospital that he loved Jade more than her. And she was, that was not true. That's what she testified to about whether or not he was the father. She told all of the officers, he's just the father. He's not involved. But Ms. Hollins argued to you that he wasn't the father, but then she also wants you to consider a text message where Jade is telling her mom that he signed up for a diaper service. You can't have it both ways. Also, Blaise Taylor told people he was the father of her baby. He told Keontae, Nigella, the people at Vanderbilt. He told the police officers. Now, when he calls 911, he's with a friend. But when the police come, that is his girlfriend. He is absolutely committed. And the text messages with Xavier Winford absolutely were not submitted for any purpose of saying somehow Mr. Taylor was a bad person because he was seeing more than one woman. It was for that very purpose. He had someone that he loved, that he was telling, I love you, But also the rest of that thread is that something's happening, but everything's going to work out for them. But it's very much against what he told the police that Jade Benning was his girlfriend. His interactions with her, it wasn't I love yous. She also wasn't going to admit he's the father of the child, but yet wants to say that they picked out the baby's name together. Well, Nigella Jackson testified about that, and she was very specific that that was a name that Jade suggested, and he agreed. He didn't disagree with it.
Can you hear better now?
But you also heard testimony that Jade's unborn baby girl's name is Ivy. She, just to clarify, I don't know where the Lauren Weber Mario connection came from. I submit to you that the evidence that you heard was that Mario texted Jade. Jade texted Danny. Danny wasn't in town. No one met up. Lauren Weber was not involved in that. Lauren Weber went to the apartment, and her testimony was that it seemed too clean. And she told the officers that. That was the first thing she said to them. She went in, and it was so weird to her that she took 2 pictures and she locked the apartment. I submit whatever happened within the police department for officers to not go there that night and seize that scene, absolutely. That is a mistake. That should have happened, and it did not happen. But it doesn't change anything. Thank God for Jade's family and friends that they were not happy because nothing was happening and it needed to happen. And they took care of it. There was nothing that was disturbed. Now, Mr. Taylor in the cleanup, he did not put the camera back. And they put the camera back where it would be, where it would face the door, not knowing if he could come back in because the police aren't there. Ms. Hollis also argued that somehow if he wanted to kill the baby, that he wouldn't be wanting updates from Jade's mom. Jade's mom's updating him because nobody knows yet about the cocaine. That first drug screen in the hospital, it was negative. Nobody knows what's happened. She referenced the cause of death with Dr. Carney. Not the cause of death, the manner of death with Dr. Carney. And she put the report up, and it very clearly states that there's a suspicion for homicide because it's possible that she ingested the cocaine without her knowledge. Someone gave it to her. But Dr. Carney's determination has nothing to do with yours. Your determination is reviewing all of the evidence to determine what proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If she determined it was a homicide, you could not consider her determination for your decision. That is for the death certificate. Ms. Holland's arguments to you about Blaise Taylor. We wish we had the surveillance video. Yes, it would be much better if we had the surveillance video, but not to exculpate him. It would show him going in and out. How long was he out there before he went back inside on 911? How many times did he go out there? It would show Jade Benning pulseless the way he saw her being carried out by the EMTs. There is nothing about that undoes the proof in this case. She argued that a chef would know that there was something in a drink. Jade Benning absolutely said, I knew there was something in my drink because I tasted it. Those are the facts. Holland's entire argument is asking you to ignore the testimony that again was unimpeached by Nigella Jackson, that Jade Benning said all of these things. She said them to him. It's only the two of them in the apartment. He says it's only the two of them. He says Jade was talking to me. Her arguments to you are asking you to not only ignore everything that Jade Benning said, but it's to ignore that if for some reason it was true and Jade Benning ingested the cocaine herself to kill herself and her baby, and then called her best friend and said these things to Blaise Taylor, and Blaise Taylor never tells anyone what she said. He doesn't, when he sees Nigella, say, oh my God, what happened? She said these things. I didn't do anything. We have to figure out what's going on. That is absolutely not true. He didn't tell anyone what Jade said. And when Detective Smith asked him if Nigella would have any reason to make up these accusations, he didn't even say she was making it up. He said, I think she's just in shock, and I was the last one with Jade. There is no explanation because Jade Benning said these things. It is the proof and evidence in this case. Jade Benning named her murderer and the murderer of her baby, and she told you why. The state does not have to prove the why, but Jade Benning told you why. And I submit to you that the evidence in this case is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Blaise Taylor is guilty of all 4 counts of the indictment. Thank you.
Well, she ends early, only uses 10 over 20 minutes. Now, the judge, we're going to give you a timer as well for reading the instructions. Or are you going to need a break before you go to jury instructions? That podium mic, I don't think was ever turned on. So it's just there for show.
Members of the jury, count 1 and 2 of the indictment in this case charge the defendant Blaise Taylor with the offense of first-degree premeditated murder. This offense embraces the lesser included offenses of second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, reckless homicide, and criminally negligent homicide. Counts 3 and 4 of the indictment in this case charge the defendant Blaise Taylor with the offense of first-degree murder during the commission of a felony. This offense embraces the lesser included offenses of second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, reckless homicide, and criminally negligent homicide. The indictment of this case is a formal written accusation charging the defendant with these crimes. It is not evidence against the defendant and does not create any inference of guilt. To this indictment, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty. The evidence and arguments in this case have been completed, and it's my duty now to instruct you as to the law. The law applicable to this case is stated in these instructions, and it is your duty to carefully consider all of them. The order in which these instructions are given is no indication of their relative importance. You should not single out one or more of them to the exclusion of another or others, but should consider each one in light of and in harmony with the others. At times during the trial, I've ruled upon the admissibility of evidence. You must not concern yourself with these rulings, neither by such rulings, these instructions, nor any other remarks which I've made do I mean to indicate any opinion as to the facts or as to what your verdict should be. Statements, arguments, and remarks of counsel are intended to help you in understanding the evidence and applying the law, but they are not evidence. If any statements were made that you believe are not supported by the evidence, you should disregard them. As to any question to which an objection was sustained, you must not speculate as to what the answer might have been or as to the reason for the objection, and you must assume that the answer would be of no value to you in your deliberations. You must not consider for any purpose any offer of evidence that was rejected or any evidence that was stricken out by the court. Such matters to be treated as though you had never known it. You must never speculate to be true any insinuation suggested by a question asked a witness. A question is not evidence and may be considered only as it supplies meaning to the answer. Sometimes in the trial of a criminal case, when a defendant is charged with a crime or crimes, this crime or crimes include lesser included offenses. The law permits the jury to find the accused guilty of the lesser included offense which is included in the crime charged in the indictment whenever a course of conduct is consistent with the facts found by the jury from the evidence in the case and when the law is given in the instructions of the court. You are the exclusive judges of the facts in this case. Also, you are the exclusive judges of the law under the direction of the court. You should apply the law to the facts in deciding this case. You should consider all the evidence in light of your own observations and experience in life. The law presumes that the defendant is innocent of the charges against him. This presumption remains with the defendant throughout every stage of the trial, and it is not overcome unless from all the evidence in the case you are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. The court will now instruct you as to the law applicable to all counts of the indictment. First, it will set forth the laws applicable to the crimes charged in the indictment. Finally, it will describe for you the deliberation process. Counts 1 and 2, first-degree premeditated murder. Any person who commits the first-degree premeditated murder is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count 1, J. Benning, as to count 2, the unborn female child of J. Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted intentionally. A person acts intentionally when it is the person's conscious objective or desire to cause the death of the alleged victim. And 3, that the killing was premeditated. A premeditated act is one done after the exercise of reflection and judgment. Premeditation means that the intent to kill must have been formed prior to the act itself. It is not necessary that the purpose to kill pre-exist in the mind of the accused for any definite period of time. The mental state of the accused at the time he allegedly decided to kill must be carefully considered in order to determine whether the accused was sufficiently free from excitement and passion as to be capable of premeditation. If the design to kill was formed with premeditation, it is immaterial that the accused may have been in a state of passion or excitement when the design was carried into effect. Furthermore, premeditation can be found if the decision to kill is first formed during the heat of passion, but the accused commits the act after the passion has subsided. Any alleged victim includes a human embryo or fetus at any stage of gestation in utero. Second-degree murder. Any person who commits second-degree murder is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count 1, J. Benning, as to count 2, the unborn female child of J. Benning, and that the defendant acted knowingly. Knowingly means that a person acts knowingly with respect to the conduct or to circumstances surrounding the conduct when the person is aware of the nature of the conduct or that the circumstances exist. A person acts knowingly with respect to the result of the person's conduct when the person is aware that the conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. The requirement of knowingly is also established if it is shown the defendant acted intentionally. Intentionally means that a person acts intentionally with respect to the nature of the conduct or to a result of the conduct when it is the person's conscious objective or desire to engage in the conduct or cause the result. The distinction between voluntary manslaughter and second-degree murder is that voluntary manslaughter requires that the killing result from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. Voluntary manslaughter. Any person who commits voluntary manslaughter is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count 1, Jade Benning, as to count 2, the unborn female child of Jade Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted intentionally or knowingly, and 3, that the killing resulted from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. The distinction between voluntary manslaughter and second-degree murder is that voluntary manslaughter requires that the killing result from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. The definitions of intentionally and knowingly which apply to this offense have been previously explained to you in these instructions on page 6, and you should refer to those definitions as they apply to this instruction. Reckless homicide. Any person who commits the offense of reckless homicide is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant killed the alleged victim as to count 1, Jade Benning, as to count 2, the unborn female child of Jade Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted recklessly. Recklessly means that a person acts recklessly when the person is aware of but consciously disregards a substantial and unjustifiable risk that the alleged victim will be killed. The risk must be of such a nature and degree that its disregard constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that an ordinary person would exercise under all the circumstances as viewed from the accused person's standpoint. Criminally negligent homicide. Any person who commits criminally negligent homicide is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant's conduct resulted in the death of the alleged victim as to count 1, Jade Benning, as to count 2, the unborn female child of Jade Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted with criminal negligence. Criminal negligence means that a person acts with criminal negligence when the person ought to be aware of
what, Judge?
Such a nature and degree that the failure to perceive it constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that an ordinary person would exercise under all the circumstances as viewed from the accused person's standpoint. Counts 3 and 4, first-degree murder during the commission of a felony. Any person who commits first-degree murder during the commission of a felony is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count 3, Jade Benning, as to count 4, the unborn female child of Jade Benning, and 2, that the killing was committed in the perpetration of or the attempt to perpetrate an alleged first-degree premeditated murder. That is, that the killing was closely connected to the alleged first-degree premeditated murder and was not a separate, distinct, and independent event. And 3, that the defendant intended to commit the alleged first-degree premeditated murder. For the defendant to have been found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, the state would have had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the essential elements of first-degree premeditated murder, which have been previously set out on page 5 of these instructions, and you should refer to those instructions as they apply to this offense. The intent to commit the underlying felony must exist prior to or concurrent with the commission of the act causing the death of the victim. Proof that such intent to commit the underlying felony existed before or concurrent with the act of killing is a question of fact to be decided by the jury after consideration of all the facts and circumstances. Consideration of such factors as time, place, and causation is helpful in determining whether a killing was committed in the perpetration of the alleged first-degree murder. The killing may precede, coincide with, or follow the first-degree premeditated murder and still be considered as occurring in the perpetration of the first-degree murder, so long as there is a connection in time, place, and continuity of action. Intentionally means that a person acts intentionally with respect to the nature of the conduct or to a result of the conduct when it is the person's conscious objective or desire to engage in the conduct or cause the result. Any alleged victim includes a human embryo or fetus at any stage of gestation in utero. Second-degree murder. Any person who commits second-degree murder is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. One, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count one. As to count 3, J. Benning, and as to count 4, the unborn female child of J. Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted knowingly. Knowingly means that a person acts knowingly with respect to the conduct or circumstances surrounding the conduct when the person is aware of the nature of the conduct or that the circumstances exist. A person acts knowingly with respect to a result of the person's conduct when the person is aware that the conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. The requirement of knowingly is also established that if it is shown that the defendant acted intentionally. Intentionally means that a person acts intentionally with respect to the nature of the conduct or to a result of the conduct when it is the person's conscious objective or desire to engage in the conduct or cause the result. The distinction between voluntary manslaughter and second-degree murder is that voluntary manslaughter requires that the killing result from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. Voluntary manslaughter. Any person who commits voluntary manslaughter is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim as to count 3, J. Benning, as to count 4, the unborn child of female child of J. Benning, 2, that the defendant acted intentionally or knowingly, and 3, that the killing resulted from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. The distinction between voluntary manslaughter and second-degree murder is that voluntary manslaughter requires that the killing result from a state of passion produced by adequate provocation sufficient to lead a reasonable person to act in an irrational manner. The definitions of intentionally and knowingly which apply to this offense have been previously explained to you in these instructions on page 6, and you should refer to those definitions as they apply to this instruction. Reckless homicide. Any person who commits the offense of reckless homicide is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, that the defendant killed the alleged victim as to count 3, Jade Benning, as to count 4, the unborn child, female child of Jade Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted recklessly. The definition of recklessly has been previously defined to you in these instructions, and you should refer to that definition as it applies to this instruction. Criminally negligent homicide. Any person who commits criminally negligent homicide is guilty of a crime. For you to find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following essential elements. 1, the defendant's conduct resulted in the death of the alleged victim as to count 3, J. Benning, as to count 4, the unborn female child of J. Benning, and 2, that the defendant acted with criminal negligence. The definition of criminal negligence has been previously defined to you in these instructions, and you should refer to that definition as it applies to this instruction. When you begin your deliberations on the indictment, you must first deliberate on the indicted or charged offense. If you find the defendant guilty of the indicted offense, you may stop your deliberations as to the remaining charges within that count of the indictment. If you find the defendant not guilty of the indicted offense, or you have a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty of the indicted offense and next consider the lesser included offenses as set out in your verdict form. You must first deliberate on the greater offense and reach a verdict as to the greater offense before you move on to the next lesser included offense. If you reach a verdict as to the guilt of the defendant as to a greater offense, you may stop your deliberations as to that specific count. If you find from the proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as to counts 1, 2, 3, or 4, then it shall be your duty after a separate sentencing hearing to determine whether the defendant will be sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or life in prison, but you will not consider punishment for this offense at this time. I noticed that some of the jurors appear to be making notes during the trial of this case. Please bear in mind that these are your notes and for your use alone. The taking of notes is simply an aid to memory, and the jury must understand that they are to recall the testimony and to use the notes only as an aid to memory. And any juror who takes notes will use those notes only for that juror's assistance in that regard, and not as an authoritative thing to show others. The crime charged in each count of the indictment is a separate and distinct offense. You must decide each charge separately on the evidence and the law applicable to it. The defendant may be found guilty or not guilty of any or all of the offenses charged. Your finding as to each crime charged must be stated in your verdict. Court charges you that if you are satisfied from the whole proof in the case beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Blaise Taylor, committed the crime charged against him, and you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that he has been identified as the person who committed the crime charged, then it would be your duty to convict him. On the other hand, if you are not satisfied with the identity from the proof, or you have a reasonable doubt as to whether he has been identified from the whole body of proof in this case, then you should return a verdict of not guilty. During the trial, you heard expert testimony of Dr. Michael Olashoga and Dr. Kelly Larkin, who is described to us as an expert in the field of emergency room medicine, Detective Tom Miller, who is described to us as an expert in the field of digital forensics, Dr. Aaron Carney, who is described to us as an expert in the field of forensic pathology, Dr. Carrie Midthen, who is described to us as an expert in the field of forensic toxicology, Eric Devlin, who is described to us as an expert in the field of digital forensics, Nicole Dowell, who is described to us as an expert in the field of forensic science drug identification, Dr. Alex Kroltulski, who is described to us as an expert in the field of forensic pathology, Dr. Melissa Giguere, who was described to us as an expert in the field of forensic toxicology, and Dr. Janice Lindsay, who was described to us as an expert in the field of forensic toxicology. The rules of evidence provide that if scientific, technical, or other specialized knowledge might assist the jury in understanding the evidence or in determining a fact and issue, a witness qualified as an expert by reason of special knowledge, skill, or experience may testify and state their opinions concerning such matters and give reasons for their testimony. Merely because an expert witness has expressed an opinion does not mean, however, that you are bound to accept this opinion. The same as with any other witness. It is up to you to decide whether you believe this testimony and choose to rely upon it. Part of that decision will depend on your judgment about whether the witness's background or training and experience is sufficient for the witness to give the expert opinion that you heard. You must also decide whether the witness's opinions were based on sound reasons, judgment, and information. You're to give the testimony of an expert witness such weight and value as you think it deserves, along with all the other evidence in the case. Direct evidence is defined as evidence which proves the existence of the fact in issue without inference or presumption. Direct evidence may consist of testimony of a person who has perceived by the means of his or her senses the existence of a fact sought to be proved or disproved. Circumstantial evidence consists of proof of collateral facts and circumstances which do not directly prove the fact in issue, but from which that fact may be logically inferred. It is evidence that proves one or more facts from which you find or infer the existence of some other fact or facts. Circumstantial evidence is all the testimony and exhibits which give you clues about what happened in an indirect way. It consists of all the evidence which is not direct evidence. An inference is a reasoned, logical decision to find that a disputed fact exists on the basis of another fact. You should consider all the evidence that is presented in this trial direct and circumstantial. The law makes no distinction between the weight that you should give either direct or circumstantial evidence. It is for you to decide how much weight to give any evidence. You are the exclusive judges of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight to be given their testimony. If there are conflicts in the testimony of the different witnesses, you must reconcile them if you can without hastily or rashly concluding that any witness has sworn falsely. For the law presumes that all witnesses are truthful. In forming your opinion as to the credibility of a witness, you may look to the proof, if any, of the witness's reputation for truth and veracity, the intelligence and respectability of the witness, his or her interest or lack of interest in the outcome of the trial, his or her feelings, his or her apparent fairness or bias, his or her means of knowledge, the reasonableness of his or her statements, his or her appearance and demeanor while testifying, his or her contradictory statements as to material matters, if any, are shown, and all the evidence in the case tending to corroborate or to contradict him or her. A witness may be impeached by proving that he or she has made material statements out of court which are at variance with his or her evidence on the witness stand. However, proof of such prior inconsistent statements may be considered by you only for the purpose of testing the witness's credibility and not as substantive evidence of the truth of the matter asserted in such statements. Further, a witness may be impeached by a careful cross-examination involving the witness in contradictory, unreasonable, and improbable statements. However, immaterial discrepancies or differences in the statements of witnesses do not affect their credibility unless it should plainly appear that some witness has willfully testified falsely. When a witness is thus impeached, the jury has the right to disregard his or her evidence and treat it as untrue, except where it is corroborated by other credible testimony or by the facts and circumstances proved in the trial. If from the evidence presented you find that a witness has been convicted of a prior crime, you can consider such only for the purpose of its effect, if any, on his credibility as a witness. The defendant has not taken the stand to testify as a witness, but you should place no significance on this fact. The defendant is presumed innocent, and the burden is on the state to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. He is not required to take the stand in his own behalf, and his election not to do so cannot be considered for any purpose against him, nor can any inference be drawn from such fact. Tape recordings were allowed in evidence, and you were provided with a document purporting to be a transcript of the audio tape. This document was provided to you to assist in your listening to the audio. If from your listening to the tape you find discrepancies or inaccuracies between the transcript and the tape itself, you should rely upon your understanding of the tape and disregard those portions of the transcript you find to be inaccurate. The state has the burden of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt, and this burden never shifts but remains on the state throughout the trial of the case. The defendant is not required to prove his innocence. Reasonable doubt is that doubt created by an investigation of all the proof in the case and an inability after such investigation to let the mind rest easily as to the certainty of guilt. Absolute certainty of guilt is not demanded by the law to convict of any criminal charge, but moral certainty is required, and this certainty is required as to every element of proof necessary to constitute the offense. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt all of the elements of the crime charged, that the crime, if in fact committed, was committed by this defendant in Davidson County, and that it was committed before the finding and return of the indictment in this case. The verdict must represent the considered judgment of each juror. In order to return a verdict, it is necessary that each juror agree thereto. Your verdict must be unanimous. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement, if you can do so without violence to individual judgment. Each of you must decide the case for yourself,
or just violence,
but do so only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your own views and change your opinion if convinced it is erroneous. But do not surrender your honest conviction as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of returning a verdict. You can have no prejudice or sympathy or allow anything but the law and the evidence to have any influence upon your verdict. You must render your verdict with absolute fairness and impartiality as you think justice and truth dictate. If you find that the state has proven the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, then you should find him guilty. In that event, your foreperson will report that you find the defendant guilty and name the offense according to your previous instructions. On the other hand, if you find that the state has not proven beyond a reasonable doubt the guilt of the defendant, or if you have a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. In that event, your foreperson will report that you find the defendant not guilty. You will be provided with a form for all possible verdicts in this case. For each count, the jury will check the appropriate verdict on the form, and your foreperson will sign the verdict form. The verdict form which you'll receive reads as follows. Verdict form. We, the jury, find the defendant Blaise Taylor, count 1, first-degree premeditated murder, and count 1 and 2, the verdict forms is the same. Choose 1, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, or guilty of second-degree murder, or guilty of voluntary manslaughter, or guilty of reckless homicide, or guilty of criminally negligent homicide, or not guilty. Count 3 and 4, the verdict forms are the same and read as follows. Count 3 and 4, first-degree felony murder during the commission of a felony. Choose 1. Guilty of first-degree felony murder during the commission of a felony, or guilty of second-degree murder, or guilty of voluntary manslaughter, or guilty of reckless homicide, or guilty of criminally negligent homicide, or not guilty. There's a signature line for the foreperson and a line for the date. When you retire to the jury room, you will first select one of your members as a foreperson who will preside over your deliberations. When you have reached a verdict, you will return to this courtroom and your foreperson will announce it. You must not imagine that the court has any opinion in regard to the facts. It is your duty to find them, and have attempted to read this charge so as to define to you the law without indicating any opinion about the facts whatsoever. Members of the jury, the indictment in this case is herewith handed to you, together with the charge and the exhibits in this case. You may now retire and consider your verdict. And let me swear in the court officer. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will keep this jury committed to your charge, keep them separate and apart from all citizens, allow no one to communicate with them or communicate with them yourselves on the subject of the trial?
Thank you, Becky. All right,
Let the lawyer step up just a moment.
The judge took 32 minutes to read his instructions, and we're going to begin the verdict watch. We're going to take a lunch as soon as it starts, but we're going to a little bit to talk about before that happens, because there are a lot of lesser includeds. And I think I need to do another lesser included demonstration, which is great for me, bad for you if you're hungry, because it involves me eating candy bars on the stream. But we'll work on that maybe here in a little bit. Let's see. Let's get our stopwatch ready.
Regular jurors, if our 4 alternates, I'll speak to you in just a moment, can stand right there against the wall there. The other 12 of you, if you'll step down the hall, we'll get these items to you.
All right, so the 12 leave, the 4 alternates are told to stand in the corner, thinking about what they did wrong. Why am I seeing a goat trophy? I don't know what you're talking about.
The alternates, obviously the court never knows whether we'll need someone to substitute into the deliberation process or not. Would have expected a week ago, Monday last week, that we probably would, but we didn't. So I appreciate your service. You'll be discharged from this case. We'll shred your notes for you, and you can step out with the court officer. All right, we'll be in recess.
All right. He goes to recess. We start the timer. Mr. Blaise Taylor might just get a little nervous. Not sure if he's got an appetite for lunch here. He's out on bond, so he is free. He can head down to Chick-fil-A if he wants. Grab himself some chicken nuggets and some of that wonderful Chick-fil-A sauce that they are so famous for. Was it his baby? We don't know. I mean, they might know, but we as potential jurors don't know. Let's see. Let's reset this. We're going to get the counter up on the screen for you. We're going to have we ended the case with a whopping total of 186 objections, so we can get rid of that now. Don't expect to have any more of those. So under the 200 count, that's on the lower side for a trial that goes this long. But our timer is now just over a minute. The jury deliberating. Let's see if we can get that on. See how that looks. Not good yet. Hang on. Yeah, we'll adjust it. All right, timer's running. Trust me, it's on this screen. I just haven't made it look pretty yet. There are 2 people on top of the Empire State Building. I'm hearing about this, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. There's other things that happened as well. The judge in the Tyler Robinson case has ruled that cameras are going to be there. Tyler Robinson has filed an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court or the appellate court there in Utah, trying to appeal they're trying to force the state to bring Twiggy, his roommate, in person from out of state. They want him there. They don't want to use the recorded testimony because that's really bad for them. And they're also asking the appellate court to emergency block the use of hearsay in the hearing that's coming up next week. That's happening. Charlie Adelson just had his appellate offer rejected. That's not going to happen. Go grab your kit. Head to the Empire State Building. Trust me, I would not get there before it's over. But we are going to take a look really quickly and see what is going on. Okay. I wonder if they're climbers or protesters. 2 people have climbed to the top of New York City's Empire State Building. And they seem pretty chill about it. They have a flag. It's black and white. It looks political. They appear to be wearing masks. Trying to see what the flag says. Power of love, the world knows. Let's see. Until the power of love beats the something of power, the love of power, the world knows something. So it's a message of love. A message of love is what they have for us. They're up at the very top. They're on top of the world right now with a very little sign that most people can't read. Maybe it's just a proposal, possibly. Could be a proposal. Maybe it's a gender reveal, folks. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but we've seen worse. We've seen worse. He proposed to her. Hey, honey, what are you doing after your jail sentence? I don't know. What do you have in mind? I don't know. If we both get out at the same time, maybe we could make a go of this. Sure, we'll both be fired. Yeah. It was a rough start. Yeah, but let's do it. We love each other. When the power of love beats the love of power, the world will know peace. There we go. I guess that's one way to get people to film your engagement. It's cheaper than hiring a photographer. Well, I don't know. Looks like a proposal. Can you imagine if they drop the ring from that height? It could be a deadly weapon. They're hugging. Yeah, they're just so happy. They about to go to jail. Yeah, we're not going to show it here. It's makes a great story for them, though. Yeah. Till death do us part. Don't fall. All right. We will talk when we come back in the Verdict Watch. We're going to talk about the lesser includeds that are on here, because there are a ton. And let me just briefly go over some of them. The lesser includeds, and I'll explain how lesser includeds work a little bit more detail. Maybe if I can I'll have to physically run to the store. Maybe I'll take my e-bike. You've got premeditated murder as a charge, and first-degree murder while in commission of a felony. Those 4 charges, because there are 2 of each, all have lesser included charges. We have a poll we'll add into as well. So second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, reckless homicide. We've got a bunch of different options, and all of them look like murder or look like a serious crime, and all of them are a crime that involves somebody dying. But the jury is going to look at the different elements of each one of those charges, starting at the top with the charged one, and work their way down. That's important. So we're gonna address that here after our lunch break. Poll's about to be closed, so if you haven't voted, get your vote in now. It looks like we have, I'm showing only 518 votes. So more than half of you have not even voted. There's look at the bottom of the At the bottom of the chat window, there should be a link to the vote. It's basically, is Blaise Taylor guilty? You can either choose not guilty, guilty as charged, or guilty of lesser included. Lesser included would be still a crime, still saying yes, he killed them, but not necessarily that premeditated first-degree murder they're going for. Let me vote 3 times. Jim Bob, congratulations. You're swaying the vote in your favor. It's a surprise wedding. It's nuts. It's your civic duty, says Elizabeth. You need to vote. Make it known. Nothing says I love you by like hanging off the side of the building. I don't think they climbed the hole outside, did they? Because they're like at the very top. They're holding on to the antenna. They're like on the light. That is just nuts. He did all that with a wedding ring, probably on a carabiner. They're all dressed in black. Is it hot up there in New York? Good grief. It's a long way down. Just for information, if you do fall off the building when you're at the very top there, you don't make it to the ground. There's lots of levels you hit on the way down. It's very hot. Yeah, my stomach gets in a knot just thinking about it. It's 110 index in Connecticut, so yes. That metal they're touching must be hot. Their hands are burning. Oh, man. All right. We're going to go to lunch because we don't want to miss the verdict, just in case this jury might have seen this a little bit differently than we did, and it happens to all be on the same page. There's a chance that this could be wrapped up really quickly. We've got about 625 votes in. I'm going to end the poll now. 626. Now back to 625. One of you undid your vote. How did you do that? Okay, we'll end the poll. And the results are pulled up there on the screen. Guilty as charged, 48%. Guilty of lesser included, 27%. Combined, that makes 75%, and that means 25% of you think that he is not guilty or not proven. One of the two would happen that way. Please don't run up to New York City for a life feed. I only go to New York City when a plane has to land there. That's how I get to New York. Is there a poll for time? We have not done a poll for time, but we'll do one when we come back because we have to take a lunch break and I have to go get some candy bars. This is a need, guys. You guys need to understand how lesser includeds work, and I need to explain it to you with candy bars. So. My hands are burning. I can't hang on any longer. It's like Titanic, but in reverse. That'll help with my chocolate addiction. I'll take one for the team, Lois. I'll eat one for you. I'm going to create a portal to the afternoon. Hang on one second. Tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe too. Go live in about an hour. We're, let's see, 12:50 right now. We're going to be back at, we'll be back at 2. That gives us an hour and 10 minutes. All right, the new thumbnail is up. I'll go ahead and build the link so the portal will be in place. Ooh, that's loud. For those that haven't been here before, just understand that when the verdict does come in, we do play music. It's not to celebrate or to turn the court into a party, but it's to get your attention, to let you know that the case you've been following for about a week has reached a conclusion, and you should run to your device and watch, or you're going to miss it, and then you'll have to catch it on the rewatch group. You guys, we'll see you after lunch. Have a good lunch. We'll see you. Bye-bye.